Welcome back to the Tech Aunties podcast, where we spill the tea on tech, but also bring in the sunshine. So today I'm Gina Rosenthal, and today I'm here with my co-host
Marian Newsom.
And we're also here with a special guest, Swati Popuri, and she's a security expert. We're going to let her introduce herself. Go ahead.
Yes. Thank you so much for the introduction. My name is Swati Popuri, and I work as a data privacy architect for Allegis Group. And I'm not a security expert, so I can go into a rant about how privacy is different from security. But and I'm really glad to be here. So prior to doing my role as a data privacy architect at Allegis, I was with Twitter. I worked on the data privacy and governance team at Twitter as an architect. And prior to that, I was doing the same thing that I'm doing now. And I was with American Airlines. I was with American Airlines back in Dallas in the headquarters, and I was there for a decade, 10 years.
We're happy to have you here because today we wanted to talk about the unintended consequences of AI. We're talking about AI all week here. We're at the Capitol Factory House during South by Southwest. Lots going on with AI. Maybe we can start with this question. So we've got a couple of just kind of opening questions for you, but we were asking people outside before we started about, do you think that right now is AI a bunch of hype, or is it going to bring digital sunshine?
Yes. So I don't think AI is just a bunch of hype. It is going to bring digital sunshine, and there is a lot of ways in which AI is going to make us more productive by automating the mundane tasks and freeing us up some time so we can use the time to do things that we love doing. At the same time, there are also some, like the topic of this episode says, which is unintended consequences. So there are these things around safety guidelines and guardrails that need to be put in, so we can all enjoy this in a more safe and then secure manner.
We're going to get to that. We'll get really deep into that. But before we get there, I wanted to ask you a question. We need to start asking all of our guests this question, I think. So we named the podcast Tech Aunties from our own cultural views of those women and the importance of those women in our lives. So from your background and culture, do aunties play a big part in what do you think of our name?
Yes. So that's really funny because I'm originally from South India and I immigrated back in 2009. I was born and raised in South India, and mine is an arranged marriage, which literally means I did not know about my husband until I got married to him, and then I get to know about him. So, and there is this show on Netflix about how arranged marriages work, and like the behind this backstage scenes on how these things happen. And so back in India, we call like every acquaintance or as auntie, if like a female figure as auntie. And especially when it comes to like the whole arranged marriage thing, aunties seem to have like a lot of strong opinions about who we should be marrying and who we shouldn't be marrying. So it's really funny that you have this title, Tech Aunties, because they do have a lot of of weightage to their input when it comes to like doing those calculations about, wait, is this the right groom or is this the right bride?
Oh man, that's a lot of responsibility. Like I have a lot of strong opinions, but that's too much responsibility for me. That's like life decisions. I'm going to stay out of that.
I like it though, because you get that influence and that experience. And so I like that. I like that in Indian culture.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Okay. So do you like the name then?
Yes.
Okay, cool. That's good. All right. So let's get into the tea here. So we kind of talked about where you came from. What do you think, or can you explain unintended consequences when it comes to AI? We see AI being told it can do a lot. I liked what you talked about, how it will do the mundane things for us and allow us to work on the things we love. So where did the unintended consequences come in?
Yes. So before I like bring and shine light on the unintended consequences, I wanted to draw upon my own personal experience about how I use AI as a more productive tool to help me do things. So recently, I have started making more videos, like technical videos on the technical data privacy concepts and I've started posting them on LinkedIn. And I started this journey very recently, maybe like just in January of this month is when I embarked. But before I took this step, about 6 months before I like gathered enough courage to like hit the publish button on LinkedIn, like the first video, like I'm just gonna throw it to the universe and I'm gonna see what happens. But thankfully, everything like happened as planned.
Sure.
So 6 months before, I was in this analysis paralysis and dilemma as to, okay, what is the right kind of mic I should buy? What is the right kind of camera I should buy? Like, what is the equipment I should
Right.
buy?
It's a
And then
lot.
it's a
Mhm.
lot. And then there is like this whole thing about video editing. Like, I see all these videos on YouTube where they have these subtitles that go and then they change colors and they highlight the exact word the speaker is speaking. That is in red
Right.
color.
Right.
Old text is in green color and then suddenly changes to blue color. So how do I like learn all these video editing techniques? I have a full-time job and I don't
Right.
and then I have my family to take care of. So how am I going to make time for all these things? But then as I started researching more and more about video editing and content making and how other content creators are making their videos, I found about this thing called Descript AI. It's an AI based video editor.
Mm.
And all I have is just the Descript membership, and I own like zero equipment. Every video I make with my smartphone mounted on my tripod, and I run that through the Descript AI video editor, and I enable the studio setting sound on it, and it just instantly removes all the background noise, and the sound is so crisp and clear. And also I can like play with the subtitles and the colors, the sizes. I can make them like and then make those bouncy sounds or swoosh sounds like how these YouTube video editors make them. I can do all that, and I have like zero investment except for just my membership, and I'm not affiliated with the company or anything to do with it. I'm just saying because I have had great success with using this.
Uh-huh.
So now, when I come to the unintended consequences of the same thing, it is so easy for this editor. It will just listen to the way I speak for about 5 seconds, and I can type in the transcript and it can generate as if I'm speaking the next sentence. So I only have to speak for 5 seconds, and whatever, so it will learn the way I like through my voice recognition, and then whatever I type in the transcript, it will make me look like I am saying that, I'm speaking that. So
Oh, wow.
that is
Mhm.
really dangerous when it comes to
Wow.
I know,
Something
right?
like
Right.
deepfake or
It's like a deep fake,
Right.
AI.
right? A deep fake. It's so easy to create the deep fake, and you don't even have to learn any like technical, be highly knowledgeable. All you have to know
Mhm.
is how to make the editor work for you. And when you think about it in a large social context, say there is a situation where there is an elderly parent and you have like your daughter or your son, maybe you get a call saying they just listen to you speak on your social media platform, so they can clone your voice.
Yeah.
They can say, hey mom, I'm at the bank, I'm trying to sort out this fraudulent credit card dispute charges on your bank account. Can you tell me your social security number so I can work this with that bank?
And that's already happening.
That's
You
already
were hearing that in the
Mhm.
news, yeah.
Yeah,
That is
there is a
already.
software called as Morphox and Screaming Bee, where you can morph the voice, even a male, being a male, I can convert my voice into female voice and I can make a call.
Right.
So how do you kind of identify that and how do you protect that?
That is right. So that is where we are here to talk about how do I solve this tech, not just technologically. It's about we have this power, but are we going to use this for the better or for the worse? So that is a
Right.
human choice that we all have to make.
Most definitely.
And not
Yes.
just that, when these tools are being like deployed, and this is maybe just like a like an like a an open source LLM that was maybe trained extensively by this company or maybe by any other company. So when those large language models and open source models are being released, we need to look at all aspects and understand if this is the case, like how do we differentiate? Like, is there like a way through content, like a watermarking on the content, or is there a way for us to differentiate between AI generated, like a deepfake content versus like a real person? Because the way we are moving towards when it comes to the content generation, it is going to be really hard in the next 1 or 2 years to tell, is this like a real or a fake? Like, no matter whether it was in text generated from chat GPT and somebody posted that text somewhere, even for a podcast, like somebody talking, or even in fact, even for a video, if somebody is like speaking.
Yeah, I think what worries me too is just really the social implications of that. Like, definitely fraud. And anytime there's money, I think, involved, or money to be had, not made, but had, you're going to get the tricksters in there trying to get that done. Like, they're going to, that's why we have spam. That's why we have spam voicemail. We have to tell our parents, hey, if this happens, here's our safe word, or I would never ask you this, are all the things. And so it takes a social response to kind of, at first, hopefully there's something that will happen that will kickstart it. But what do you think about some of the more um, ingrained kind of unintended consequences? These are kind of pretty obvious. I take this tool and I use it to be naughty, and get your money. So what about things like I know Dr. Joy, and I cannot pronounce her last name.
Buolamwini, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
Joy
Well,
Buolam, yeah.
that's who. She's here. Would have loved to have her here, but I know she's very busy. But she if you guys do you guys know who that is? No.
she actually founded the she he's a great speaker on transparency and bias in AM and AI and the LLMs. She's also follow her on LinkedIn, the AI Justice League. And so very informed speaker, very informational and very easy to understand just about how AI is being developed and those unintended consequences.
And she's an engineer. So what's interesting about it is she's a Black woman from Africa, and she was at MIT or Harvard. I can't remember which one of the Ivy League schools. And one of her projects she was working on was she wanted to do this, a video capture where you put a hat on, or it was something simple like that with her first project. And the AI tool she chose to do the facial recognition didn't see her because she's so dark skinned. Did not see her. So she would literally have to wear, to program this, a white mask for the AI to see her so she could program it. So she talks a lot about what are some of the social implications we're going to see if you've got AI that is written without, if the applications are written without a diverse engineering team. They might not think about, okay, it might not see my skin, or if it's a woman, something will be different, or if mine is the accent, and I might not look like the accent would bother you, but like when I'm in my car driving and telling the Google lady where I want to go, it can't understand me, and it really aggravates me. And I'm sure that's just a small example. There's people that have very thick accents, that will have a harder time with it. So we have some of these unintended consequences, and even deeper. We were talking earlier on the Aunties chat, which, by the way, we do an Aunties chat every morning at 9:30. If you guys want to come in and get real interactive, that's the time to come see us. But we were talking about like all of the LLMs require lots and lots of data, right, to be able to run algorithms and train them to pull up the data into information and tease it into that. What happens if they use real estate data from that was based on the 20s, which was during the Jim Crow era, and we know literally from here around the east side of Congress Avenue was the line where that's where all the Black people and Mexican people could be. They could buy houses on the west side in Austin, but they wouldn't turn their utilities on. So all of these kind of Jim Crow era redlining districts, if we take that data and pull that into an LLM model for something to do with finance or real estate, are there going to be, do you think there'd be unintended consequences possibly from that?
Yes, I think where we are moving towards is the question about bias and discrimination in the LLM models and how to address the bias and discrimination. I mean, when it comes to bias, like I always say, the most evident thing that we talk about is the gender bias, because we can see that this is one
Right.
gender and this is another gender. But then there are many different kinds of biases, and I'll just briefly touch upon them
Oh, yes,
quickly.
please.
So there is like a confirmation bias, which means you have already made up your mind and you are looking for ways to and evidence to support the conclusion. For example, I have already made up my mind about a new pair of shoes that I want to buy on Amazon. So when I go to Amazon, I am paying close attention to the 4-star and the 5-star reviews about how beautiful and how stylish these
Right.
shoes are looking
Right.
like. But then I barely like go to the 2-star or the 1-star where they say these shoes fall apart in 2 days. Like it's a waste of money. So I don't want to I tune them out of my scope of consideration, and I only so that is one kind of bias. The other kind of bias is like the automation complacency bias, which
Right.
is the output from a machine you think is more is correct compared to the compared to a human telling you. And one example is, say you have certain symptoms that you're experiencing and you made an appointment with your primary care physician, but you don't get your appointment on time. So maybe there's like you have to wait for the 2 days or 3 days. So you put all of your symptoms in Google, and then the Google diagnosis says that, oh, you have ADHD based on whatever you have told me. And then when you go show up at the doctor's office and they do certain tests and they give you a different like a diagnosis based on what the doctor is saying. Now you, in your mind, there is this complacency or automation bias wherein do you trust the output from the Google, which is more, it, it seems more in line with what you're experiencing, or do you like trust your doctor? And there is also like a sampling bias, which is you just skim through a certain random sample of a large data set and you make a conclusion, okay, this data set is filled with this data, rather than trying to understand what exactly the data is. So there are various different kinds of biases in addition to general bias. So when we talk about the large language models, we want to minimize and address all of these biases. And the main, although when it comes to, so there are certain AI and governance frameworks that are picking up steam. The first or the oldest one that I have been following and been introduced to were the OECD AI principles.
Mhm.
And then most of the recent ones like the EU AI Regulation Act, they are all kind of seem to more for some flavor of the OECD AI principles. And one of the OECD AI principles is around like the trust and the safety is about minimizing the bias and fairness. And so when it comes to fairness in the model, the way, how do we exactly measure the fairness? And this is coming back to your example, wherein we have this like redlining or the red zoning where people with this zip code, if they apply for a mortgage, then they are rejected, and the people with this zip code, if they apply for their mortgage, then they're approved and they get the mortgage. They get the good rate.
Right.
So when it so when it comes to fair, so we really need to get our handle on the fairness testing and getting so we need to have a threshold on how do we define fair. And just like privacy, the AI is all very context specific. So the way you define certain thing. For example, in the doctor's office, when I tell my doctor about all the symptoms I'm experiencing, I trust my doctor in that setting, and I'm telling all the information, I'm giving all the information to my doctor because I want to get the right diagnosis. But I wouldn't go and post all of my symptoms on social media or something. So it's a very privacy
Some
context.
people will.
Some people will. Let's not talk about those people. So, uh, in the same context, when it comes to fairness, we need to have this threshold defined on what exactly is fair. And there is a paper from Professor Narayanan, and I think it's from Stanford University, that there are like 21 definitions of how fairness should be defined.
Right.
But but for the sake of this conversation, let's just say, so there are protected attributes about a person, which are examples of protected attributes are like gender, ethnicity, race, age. And like I said, again, age may or may not be a protected attribute, because when I'm talking to my doctor, my age is a very important data point for my doctor to take a decision for the next steps in the treatment, versus in a different context, maybe like a mortgage or something, where
Or a
as long as
job.
I have or a job, right? Um, like a hiring decision. So when these protected attributes, like I mentioned, these are taken out of the equation, and if the AI model is giving the same outcome in both the cases, like for a black female who is applying for a job versus a white male who is applying for the job, and we have this, maybe this is a fictitious thing I'm making up, if there is a hiring algorithm, then the outcome that this person is approved to go to the next round, it should be the same, irrespective of when you give the information about the protected attributes to the algorithm or you don't.
And so I think taking that scenario, there are some unintended consequences of AI, because even we talk about different how people, what college you graduated from. Was it an international college? Was it what we call a Division I school? And so making sure that those models actually have that fairness built in, I think is something we really need to look for in the future.
Yeah, we have the audience chomping at the bit. I want to.
Okay,
I want to
come
make
up
sure
with
that they ask us some questions, but I want to keep in mind. I want to kind of wrap up with this audience is pretty diverse because we were talking to them outside as far as technologists. So I do want to make sure what we end with is some actionable things for all levels of experience. But I think he was actually first. I'm going to let you go first, and then I've got one from you, and we'll see where the conversation. Are you good with taking questions and seeing where the
Yes,
conversation
I
goes?
am.
Okay, good.
Everybody's talking about AI, and I don't imagine AI. But I thought that was very interesting, an examples you gave. One of the sound processing, where you eliminates all the noise,
It is.
and the other one, like you said, emulation of somebody's voice, which I've heard a lot lately that people are using it for fraud. So is there a particular platform, or what are they using? Like, in your example, is there a platform or a software like from Google or Microsoft? What is being used to generate that?
Oh, there are actually a lot of tools that are available today to generate like it is simply called text to voice generation. So there is this voice to text synthesis, which is the transcription, and the text to voice generation is so if you put in Google or maybe in ChatGPT, it will give you a ton of resources on how you can go about doing that.
There are two softwares called as AI and Amazon Lex.
Yeah.
You can use those services where it's gonna transcribe the voice into text, and
It's very what's the name? Amazon.
Otter.ai and Amazon Lex.
I think the real point there is, do we actually own our digital identity, right? And so we have certain things that we share we consent to use that software. And so do we actually own our digital identity when we do that, and how that's being used?
Yes, that's actually a great point about the digital identity, how we are building the digital identity for ourselves. And we to go about talking about social media branding, building a presence on social media. at the same time, all of these companies are also building our profiles, taking or scraping all of this data that's being posted by us and by our friends and whatever we speak about, building a profile about, to the extent that very soon it will also predict how we are going to think, in the sense that with AI, one real use case is how you have this like a chat bot or an AI bot that pops up when you go to a website. Hello, I'm Alex. Can I help you with a question? Or like, no, I know. So, but the way the profiles are being rapidly built and trained on these models is when you go to the website, the personal assistant that is trying to assist you from that little bottom corner on the right side is actually going to use use words and phrases that you have said, because it is going to be so personalized to your experience. And there are technologies like cookies and pixels and metapixels that can be placed to say, okay, this is the person who is on this website, so let me address that. Hello, do you want to pick back on your search that you abandoned on your new blue shoes on Amazon? I'm here to assist you. So I think that's where we are going with the whole
I'm gonna let
question.
her ask her
Sure.
question
Okay.
first. Okay, so then we'll get to you now.
Yeah, so
Yes.
this is actually a really good segue. I am an attorney. I work in a lot of media and entertainment. So fairness is huge, but how do you balance fairness with that heuristic element of somebody finding your target audience, having your target audience guided towards media that they would want to consume? We already know we have algorithms doing that, but we also think AI is going to change the game. What are your thoughts on how to strike that balance? And at what point have we gone too far?
Okay. So, in order to strike that balance about the fairness, what I would say is we need to start with a very well representative and diverse data set on which the model is being trained. The problem that we have, like right now, when, for example, if you go back about a couple of years, there is this very interesting case study about hiring. So Amazon had an algorithm that it used for to make a hiring decision on its technology jobs. So this algorithm was actually scraped back in 2016, but they trained the model on 10 years worth of data, which is from 2005 to 2016. And what this algorithm used to do is, because it had predominantly seen only male
Mhm.
resumes with the gender identifying them as male. So this algorithm, if it sees a female resume applying for this junior tech role or this tech software engineer role, it would actually upscore words like baseball, and it would downscore words like softball. Or if it would see that this person graduated from a all women's university, then it would downscore the ranking on
Right.
how it is
Right.
doing the thing. So Amazon tried a ton to fix it, but it was in vain. So they had scraped that algorithm and it's not deployed anymore. It's not on the field. So one solution in this case, which is to address the fairness and address this gender gap, is to actually have a very well representative training data set. So in that case, Amazon did not have the very well representative training data set because historically there were not a lot of female or women in this tech field. So whatever they had in the training, in whatever they had received for those past 10 years, they had used that as the training data set. So here there are two options. One is to actually go with like the synthetic data generation, and then the other one is to curate the data in such a way, and then have there are certain privacy enhancing techniques like differential privacy, which is about like adding noise to the data set in order to protect the privacy of the data set itself. So there are certain things that can be done, but it does have to be addressed through the data provenance or the content provenance when it comes to fairness. And
Let me ask a follow-up question because this is what I was kind of getting to earlier is she's a lawyer. So she's not going to train the data sets, right? So, but she might be interested in advising her clients to make sure that they have guardrails. Now I know for sure this is what both of you do for a living, and you both would be willing to come and help her and consult with her. But in general, and the same for me. Like I have a product marketing agency. I'm never going to train a data set, and I'll admit I have a hard time. Um, I do ask some questions, but I don't feel like I'm asking enough questions about the data set. And a lot of times when you get deep in asking the questions about what's the data set, how was it trained, the answer back you get is that's proprietary. So for lawyers and marketers in the room, what are some things we can do if we are concerned about consuming services that are using trained models? Because we're never going to do it, but we want to give our money to the people that are trying to do this the best way. What are some things we can do?
That is right. So as I said, you would never like go and build a large language model from the scratch because it is very complex and b very expensive to do. So I wouldn't recommend
Right.
anyone to
No.
do that.
Right.
So this again goes back to the regulation part of it, which is about how do we ensure before this model is actually even being deployed in the field or goes live in production, how do we ensure the necessary guardrails that we have taken care of all and covered our bases from all the angles and all the scenarios? And some things could be like having like a red teaming, which is people from other, not just the people who built the model, but then getting a diverse team to test in the field before it goes live in production. And the so the red team is one thing, and the other one is called the bug bounty, which is kind of a lot companies do, wherein you can report those bugs and you can
Right.
prioritize those on the I think
Let's
We're
get one
good.
more
We're
question.
gonna keep going.
Go-
We're gonna
go
ignore
ahead.
Polly.
yes. Okay.
Let's get one more question.
Well, we're over here first.
Go ahead,
Then we'll
Blaine.
come to you.
I'm gonna put this in a different perspective.
Okay.
So I've been doing AI since the late 80s, right? Because AI is not truly new to like the time is in there.
We got an OG AI person in here.
So other countries used it as well for fixed
Right.
rates, right? So how do you today explain, say, if I was coming to your company, how would you explain the safety of detecting my as far as detecting my data? But how would you explain it to me in a way that helps me understand that AI is a capability,
Right.
and it has a trade-off. And it's not a cure-all for what we're going to do. And how would you make me feel comfortable enough to say, hey, what I want to invest, I want to use your actual solution.
Who's gonna take it? You gonna take it, or is Marion? Because Marion's like all about it.
So I do like the way you said a capability, right? It's not an end all be all. It is a capability that can help you enhance. And we kind of briefly touched on the difference between privacy and security. And I think one of the things you really have to start stressing is how do you govern that AI and what that capability is actually used for. And as we look at data, we start thinking about individual privacy. There are privacy regulations. And so I think AI governance becomes a really big thing as we move forward to make someone feel safe, because you're going to come and say, hey, I want to do this. I want to, say in her case, I want to market to my target audience. I want to collect this data from them and then synthesize it back into campaigns. And so as you start to look at that, you really have to start thinking about, okay, I have this capability. How am I going to use that capability for my good as well as for the good of the person who's providing the data? Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
How about you? Did you want to follow up on that too?
I just wanted to follow up on the first part wherein you said AI has been here since the late 1950s and what's all this hype about. So it's we are just using the word AI because we don't really have a well-defined word for it's the like the generative large language multimodal model. So because it's like GALLUM and it's so AI is so like stylish to say, and then GALLUM, you have lost that person already. And with the invention of the transformers model in 2017, around that time frame, wherein earlier all of these fields like computer vision, text to speech,
Mhm.
speech to text, image generation. Image generation is nothing but again like a branch offshoot of computer vision. So they all existed as branches by themselves. And so what it meant is if I want to like specialize in computer vision, I had nothing to do with text or speech recognition or speech generation. I was all about images and doing like a deep learning those algorithms and things. And I would like go to a different professor, to go to a different building. I would read different books, and I would like put my thesis and graduation, all of my effort into those things. But then with the transformers model, what happened was if you had made even like so all of these fields started coming together in one large language model. So if you made even tiny progress on one section of one branch, you would have made exponential progress on making on all of the branches. So suddenly we are like taking off because it's like 1x progress is equal to like 10x progress for all of these fields. And that's how, like, if you look at a mid journey or something wherein you type and you get a picture, or like I explained, like Otter AI, wherein you type and it generates the text for you. So it's all of these fields coming together collectively and making tiny progress, and then it's just taking off.
That's a really great explanation. I'm from the infrastructure industry, especially storage. That's where I started out. So just got to pipe in there that the advancements in chips and everything, the hardware advances is what's made all of that possible.
Right.
That is
right?
true as well. And also like the cloud computing,
Yep.
like being able to mine so much of data and keep it in the cloud, and you
Yeah.
snap your
Mhm.
finger and the data is
Right.
All right, we've got a couple more. Oh my gosh, y'all killing me. Okay, we might have to end here soon. We'll take you, and I think we're gonna have to close off the podcast, but we can stay around and chat.
Yeah, hi,
Go ahead.
Swati, this is Deepak. And this is a situation like where we faced like 2 weeks back with the Google Gemini. You know that, right? Was
The
like
updates.
some guy he just randomly asked the Google Gemini like about the Mother Teresa, and Google Gemini he showed like Mother Teresa was like an African
Right.
race, and because of that, the stocks got crashed
Hmm.
around like $2 billion for the Google, and it doesn't. They are Google, right? So they can just grow up again. But I think the AI is going to crash the stock market for each and every company. Like if it were to generate the wrong answer, right?
It is. Yes, there is no doubt about the unintended economic consequences of
Right.
AI.
Because
Just
like
like
because of AI, we can increase the revenue, and because of AI, it can decrease the revenue.
that
It
is
can
true.
be like this is going to be a huge loss for the business people and the companies. Right?
That is
Right.
true.
Wrong message can just crash the market.
Exactly. And that is why there is a lot of fear of missing out, the FOMO around are we doing AI enough, or are we doing AI right for all of these companies? Because they don't want to stay back and lose that revenue generating opportunity. And at the same time, AI is becoming so entangled in this. For example, if you look at how a decade ago, when say social media was just coming up along with the smartphones, now if you were to so if I were to apply for a job or in this difficult job market, and if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, it means you don't even exist as a person in the job
Right.
market. And similarly, if you are like a 18 years old, you're a teenager, and you don't have a like a Snapchat account or some other social media Instagram account, then you don't even, you're non-existent in the social media
Right.
world. So similarly, these companies are all on this bandwagon to jump onto the
As
bandwagon
quickly as
about,
possible.
yes, that
Mhm.
we should be like to use AI for the next revenue generating, and we should like make things for our customers.
So I think this conversation is super important, though, about the unintended consequences. So I think we need to do more of this. I'm going to take one more question from the audience, and then we're going to wrap up here. But we'll stick around and talk afterwards.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm curious, specifically your role as kind of a data privacy architect, how are you seeing the emergence of LLMs, generative AI, and even just some of the older predictive AI? How are you seeing that change your approach specifically to data privacy? And what are some of the challenges you're coming up against, and what are some of the solutions you've been working towards as well?
Mhm. Yes. And I would love to answer this question, but I will also want to remind everybody that all the things I'm speaking are my own personal opinions and not of my employer. Yes. So, what I'm seeing when it comes to AI is I'm seeing the same thing, which is across the board, the fear about heavy, uh, like, how do we do this whole adoption, or what is the safe way to go about this adoption? It's just that we are trying to look under the hood and we have no idea how big it can be and how big it can grow and how soon it can like grow, like move like rapid, like a wildfire. And so we do have AI in taking many decisions, and AI has been present in any organization which deals with large, like millions and millions of data records and data points to help us like synthesize the data and make a decision. So when it comes to the decision making, what I'm seeing is we're heavily like looking to the regulations from the industry. And the good thing when it comes, and the difference that I would like to point out, especially from my role, is there were a lot of data privacy laws which were very specific, like to the Texas state data privacy law, or the California CCPA, CPRA, or the Colorado data privacy law. So everybody were like there was a divided and in their opinion about how they should be treating the data, like give the consumer to be able to say, don't share my data or don't sell my data, or maybe somebody is saying, don't do this to my data. But then when it comes to the AI regulation, I'm seeing there is a lot of positive things that are coming from the federal level, in the sense there is so there was Mr. Biden's administration had an executive order back in October, and the EU AI Act, we are going to learn more about concretizing that from the European region in the next couple of 10 or 12 days. So the good thing is we are all standing united when it comes to regulations. Although one thing that I like to point out here, as you are a lawyer, we always know that the regulations always fall behind, and they are like, so we have regulations that are catching up to the technology that's like going on a bullet train. So
We're still using some stuff from the 90s in media, and it's not.
it's not great. It's not great, but we want to have, and as I said, they do not kind of give you like an exact guideline on how you should implement this. So it is again left up to our implementation. So we know, okay, when we are processing sensitive personal data about maybe like biometrics, we should never be doing these things. So maybe we should never be sending it to a third party cloud provider. We should be maybe having it that hosted in our own private cloud. So the regulation is not going to say about private cloud, public cloud, and those things. So those are up to us to make how we assimilate those regulations. But they are going to stand as a broad, overarching guideline as to what is the right thing to do here.
Much like NIST guidelines, it sounds
Much
like.
like
Right.
this guideline.
Okay. Well, guys, we are out of time. We can stick around a little bit and talk for a little bit, although this room is reserved at 12, so we've got a little bit of time. Thank you so much.
Yes, I actually have a quote that I would like to read,
Oh, yes,
which I
please.
got. I got a screenshot of it because I don't want to kill the author's meaning by making up whatever I'm saying.
Okay.
So
Excellent.
it says, in an information-rich world, the wealth of information means a dearth of something else, a scarcity of whatever it is that information consumes. What information consumes is rather obvious. It consumes the attention of its recipients. Hence, a wealth of information creates a poverty of attention. And this quote is by Herbert Simon in the paper Designing Organizations for an Information-Rich World, Johns Hopkins Press, 1971.
Wow,
Wow.
1971.
Mhm.
That's a great quote.
Yeah.
I like it. And it's funny how that's catching up to us. And information management is
Right.
really catching up to us.
Right.
That's actually my undergraduate degree. So is information systems.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for agreeing to come. I know we know each other from Women in Tech. In Austin. If you are in Austin and you're a woman, you want to join Austin Women in Tech, it is a great
Most definitely.
organization. There are so many. It is one of the best professional organizations I've been a part of in a long time. I enjoy it much. Well, so let me ask you, since we're going to have this on the podcast as well, what I would definitely like you to tell us where we can find your technical videos on LinkedIn, but also where else can people find you online to find some of the stuff you're working on?
Sure. So, I'm really bad about this whole social media branding and the presence
We're
and
helping
all
you.
of these. So I have no nothing on social media except for LinkedIn, and I actually learned it the hard way that I had to be present on LinkedIn because while I was at Twitter, and after the acquisition, I was laid off at my job, and suddenly I was in this very difficult job market with extremely talented engineers from Google and Microsoft and Twitter and everybody looking for a job, and they did a really great job with building their networks and nurturing their networks. And that's when I learned that the best time to build your network is when you don't need it. So from ever since then, I had been a strong proponent on LinkedIn. You can just search for my name, Swati Popuri, on LinkedIn, and I will show up and you can connect with me and add me on LinkedIn.
We will definitely make sure that's in the show, Lisa. Thanks again for coming. Did you have any last words, Marian?
No, I think this was a good talk and really great questions from the audience. And
Yes,
so
thank you guys. very
let's
much.
go ahead and continue the conversation on our channel, the Tech Amies .com. You can find our episodes of our podcast as well as connect with us on LinkedIn.
All right. So do you want people to connect with you on LinkedIn too?
Most
That-
definitely.
Okay, cool. Excellent.
But we'll put all that up when we put up the podcast.
We sure will. We'll put in link. And I'm Gina Rosenthal of Digital Sunshine Solutions. We love to help people with problems like this, especially from a product marketing perspective. We're a fractional product marketing agency and love to help you. If you just have questions about some of this stuff, we're happy to offer you a free 30-minute consultation to help get your mind straight. We love helping people. So that's all from us tonight. We've been talking forever. That's all from us today. And hopefully we'll see y'all again real soon. Thanks.